All we're going to do is ask, like, first go ahead.
Can I go get a drink?
Yes.
It's right over there. Okay.
Hurry up.
Serious? What do you think we were waiting for before?
I thought we had waters.
This is why the tech department is so far behind.
I gotta start.
We
my
started getting
timer
things
over.
right at episode 23. You guys took 24 and still can't get that timer right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 24 of the Slightly Serious Sign podcast. This episode is voted number 1 by France Lighting Solutions because they left this hat here for us. So appreciate that, guys. And we appreciate you sending us a hat. If any of other vendors want to send us stuff, we want your stuff. So send it, please. So this episode's a little different because our schedule got a little messed up. If you want to hear why it got messed up, listen to episode 25 next week because we'll talk all about it. But that one will be live. So if you're listening to this, episode 24, the week of August 5th, August 12th, we will have a live episode on YouTube. So we'll be sending out emails and links and all that stuff, but look for it like 9 a.m. We'll be live. So
are you sure we're going to get set up by then? Because we were supposed to be by 9 o'clock today and it's 11:36.
So yeah. So today I was supposed to just make a real easy drop off, pick up rental car situation. And it was a whole disaster. So when Enterprise says we'll pick you up, what they mean is like, yeah, within about an hour of when we were supposed to pick you up, we'll get you. And then when we bring you back to our place, we actually won't have any cars for you. So just wait here until someone brings one back and then we can go. So it was a really good time. 10 out of 10.
That's a good plug for Enterprise.
Enterprise, we will hopefully pick you up. And if we're late, we don't care. So.
Okay, so what's this episode about?
Episode 24. I'll pass it to you because you said, apparently I'm going to get it wrong. I said that you can't call it the South Union because the town we're talking about is a population of 27 people and 437 cows. So I don't think you can technically have a South version of that, but...
Hey, technically, we grew up on South Union. There used to be a gate there, just on the other side. And on that gate was South Union. So this is, as Tyler and I were sitting around yesterday trying to figure out an episode, I thought, you know what? We'll bring in Steve and Kevin because all three of us grew up on South Union, almost right next door to each other. Well, Steve and I were right next door to each other. Kevin lived on the richer side, the other side of the street. Steve and I were on the poor side of the street. But we all grew up within 50 yards of each other. So... Steve and I grew up within 20 feet of each other.
You do have a point with Kevin. They did have a pool, so they were on the richer side.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, we can talk all about it. I mean, remember they had the pool, they had the boat, they had the place at Sandy Pines.
What was that, the east or the west side of South Union was the money side?
That's
east side.
The east side of South Union was the money side of the street.
Where's Martindale in reference to South Union, Mike?
It's a ways away.
It's east, isn't it? A little further.
It is a little further.
That's the bad side of town.
That's the bad side of town. Yeah.
So for those of you that don't understand what's going on here, so the three of these guys all grew up within a few miles of each other, less than a mile of each other.
50 yards.
And 50 yards from each other. The whole reason this episode is because Steve and Kevin obviously work here as well, right? So the point we're trying to say is one of our best episodes that we did was when my brothers came on here. So obviously you guys want to hear from us too, in terms of like who we are, what we do here, that kind of stuff. So if you're looking for an episode on the serious sign part of this podcast, it's probably not this one. But if you want to hear about Wensco, the people that work here, this is a great episode for you. So we hope you stick around because hopefully it'll be good. We'll find out soon.
Yeah. So we can say Steve and Kevin, we'll introduce them, we'll let them, talk about themselves. But the reality is we all grew up 50 yards from each other and we're all within less than a month apart age-wise. So, and the funny thing is, as I was thinking about this episode, I know Steve and Kevin's birthdays. I don't know a single one of my grandchildren's birthdays. But I know your guys's, and I remember your guys' phone numbers. Do you guys remember my phone number?
No, you remember? Didn't
yours was 1233. Steve's, yours was 0188.
Correct.
So I can still remember their phone numbers. I can remember their birthdays, but not my grandchildren. So anyway, Steve, why don't you start? Introduce yourself. Tell us about your family. Tell us what you do here, or what you're trying to do here, and we'll go from there.
Alrighty, this is cool. My name is Steve Austin. I'm married. I have 3 children and 1 grandchild. I've been working with Wensco. We're coming up on 19 years. I started as a delivery driver here at Wensco. Actually, Mike came into where I was working up at Sparta Lanes, up in Sparta there. And I was telling him how I was getting kind of sick of working nights and weekends and holidays and stuff like that. And he said, hey, we may have an opening for you here at Wensco, you know. And so here we are, almost 19 years later. It's been a pretty good experience besides working with him. I got to say, the owner, Judy Nelson's awesome. Yeah, it's been pretty good. I started like I said, as a delivery driver. And then Mike, he always, when I was back there working with him in the warehouse, he'd always go up front and he'd be gone for quite a while. But now I know how that worked out for him, because as you can see, he's moved up way in the company. He was spending a lot of time with Judy as he left me back in the warehouse by myself. But when he did that, I decided to hold on to his foot, I like to say. So when he was climbing the ladder, I had a hold of his foot and I didn't let go. And I moved into the warehouse manager's position for about 3 years. And then I, again, told him one day, I was like, hey, if you have any openings and something a little different here at Wensco, I don't really want to be having to figure out how to load these trucks at 5 o'clock in the morning every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning. And next thing you know, they said, hey, we got an opening in sales. And I'm like, I'm not sure I'm a salesman, but hey, they kind of told me what they'd pay me. And I'd say, yep, let's do this. So here I am 7 years later. Probably approximately, doing sales. So that's my story, and I really do enjoy the sales. I enjoy the relationships I'm building with the people out there. I always think if I wasn't doing that, I would miss a lot of people out there. So it's been pretty cool to, I started delivering to these people, so I knew these people a lot, and now, like I said, I'm dealing with them on a one-on-one basis a lot of times, and it's like I said, I built a lot of great relationships over these years, and I'm really happy with my decision to be here.
What sales territory do you cover?
I cover northern Grand Rapids, or north of Grand Rapids, I apologize. So I do all the way over the bridge. I have the UP. I do the whole UP, and anything north of the branch of here in Belmont, I'm in charge of pretty much, except for the thumb. So
makes sense. So Kevin's the newest of the Wensco employees here, so I'm glad. Usually it's me, I feel like, in these situations. So, Kevin, what do you do here?
Depends who you ask.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a hard question, isn't it?
No, it's easy.
Start with your family. Who's your family? What's your family, and then how'd you get here?
With me, I wish I would have went before Steve, because I only have 18 months experience with the company. So a lot of my stories, it's been a great experience coming on board, being part of the Wensco family. Most of my stories will be with Steve and Mike as we were younger. But to speak to Mike's, yep, we grew up in very close proximity over on the south side of Sparta. I think we all moved in the area around the same time, about 3 years of age. Mike moved out first, left Steve and I behind. But anyway, my parents, Mike and Pat Beukema, apparently Mike has this thought that they were rich, but I
mean, you got to wear shoes during the summer. Steve and I didn't get to wear shoes.
You didn't wear shoes because you said you were faster without them.
I was too.
And I said, don't the prickers hurt your toes when you step on them?
We'll get into this. Keep going, because we're going to talk about your rich family a little bit later.
So anyway, I'm the tech department manager for Wensco. I came on board February of last year. Prior to that, I worked for, am I allowed to say Comcast as a copywritten? Yeah. I don't know.
You can say it.
Trademark. Worked with Comcast. I began there 2004, started building my technical experience on the installation service side with cable, moved up into a sales position over the years. Mike and I were very close, and then there'd be long gaps, and then we'd be close again, and then there was a gap, and then finally he roped me into coming into work for him. But I don't know why. He's a very good salesperson.
He's for very employees, good. Yes. Yeah. He sells you on how great it is, and then
like if I'd have been good in sports, that's how recruiting would have went.
He really sold it, and you got in here. And
You
thought,
get here,
I'm
it's
stuck
like-
now.
Yeah, we're all the fans and cheerleaders and all that. And it's like, no, it's time to work now, buddy.
I was here. Cheering you on.
Yep.
Cheering is
So,
maybe a slight exaggeration.
Relative.
so,
It's a
so
relative term.
what I can say about these guys, both these guys, and I don't know if it was something in the water and I just didn't drink that same water in the street, is they're both very passionate, which I'm pretty passionate, but they're also both very sensitive people. Like there's been a time where both of them been sitting here with like tears in their eyes, like, and not mad at anybody, not upset, just like things weren't going right. And Steve for sure, like things got to be going right. Kevin was the same thing. Things got to be going right. And so they're both.
Usually I'm the cause when Steve has.
And usually you're causing
He's mad at
Steve's
me.
and then, yeah. But so anyways.
You brought the wrong sandwich from Subway situation.
Let's go with that.
Typical.
That sounds better.
Yeah, was it? Yeah, there was mayonnaise on it. Done. Where's the Kleenex? So anyways, they're both very passionate people. And they both do a pretty good job for the most part. I have to say that on camera.
That's the first time you ever heard that.
Can I get a
You
copy
don't get
of this?
many compliments from Mike. So.
Just screen record this episode when it goes live. When you have a bad week, just play that on repeat. Just like, okay. One time he said, I'm pretty good at my job. It's enough for me.
That's right.
No, I think I can tell you what I think what makes Steve really good at his job and why I thought he would be good in sales in the beginning is he can remember everybody's name. Like you tell him his name, dude remembers your name. Like you can say, hey, who's this customer? He knows their name. Me, not a clue. I mean, I just memorized the grandkids' names and there's 5 of them. Actually, I don't even know some of their middle names.
That's probably true.
Actually,
I mean, that's guaranteed to be true.
Actually, I only know one of their middle names, Nova's. It's
of
Nova
your
Jean. I don't know the other 4 middle names.
It'll still be a mystery.
So let's talk about growing up on South Union. The first major event that happened was they made Steve go back to kindergarten. Was it transitional first?
Yes, sir.
So the very first thing was they took Steve out of our grade and put him a grade behind us. And because he failed counting, not accounting, he failed counting. So Steve screwed the whole thing up. We're all supposed to go to school together, but I don't know what the next major thing is. The other thing we can talk about, we can talk about
Hot
Kevin's.
Wheels.
Yeah,
Steve had the coolest Hot Wheel.
Steve definitely had the coolest Hot Wheel. Steve might have had the coolest bike too. You had the mags on your bike. Remember the yellow?
Was it a Mongoose?
Wasn't a Mongoose, so
or
was it?
BMX?
I think it was a BMX, but yeah.
But then came along mopeds. And this is where we talk about Rich Kevin. Steve had one he had to pedal to start. I had one that was beat to crap. I actually think I bought it from Duflo, who's now a customer of ours. Kevin, brand new.
Yeah, that's correct.
We're barely keeping ours running for $50 a piece. We bought them for. Kevin comes home with a brand new one. Oh, I'm not the rich kid.
I know. I didn't have any money.
He got it from the BMW dealership.
Yep. Well, he'd usually ride his moped all day, come
It
in.
was a spree.
His mom would make him
Vespa.
lunch. His mom would feed him dessert, and then they go swimming. And me and Steve would be sitting out on the road trying not to burn to death.
That Mike was in the pool more than anyone in my family. Turn the light on at night. Mike, get out. Go home.
His moped was in the pool a few times too.
I
probably.
did crash your dad's moped because didn't Dave? It was Dave's first, and then I thought hand it
No.
down to you.
No,
I
don't
crashed
know if-
one of them.
I know you
your
crashed
backyard.
mine. So
I was thinking about the funniest memories of us three before we did this, and you remember your dad had a big, a bunch of those little suckers, Kevin. Your dad was a
Dum-dums
banker
from the bank.
and
Statute
he
of
would bring
limitations
home a
done.
whole bag of suckers in his garage. Well, me and Mike, we like to go over there and like just sneak in and take a bunch of suckers.
The crime rate was awful on the east side.
Yeah.
that was the east side.
Yeah.
The west side was stealing from the east side.
Yeah,
That was like a
yeah.
Robin Hood type deal.
Yeah. I just always remember that. Your dad always had that big trash bag of suckers, so we'd go in there and we'd get ourselves some suckers.
Yep. Little dum-dum suckers.
Yep.
Big old trash baggies. Not exaggerating. It was one of the yard waste bags.
Full.
Full of suckers.
It started that way. Then my dad, where are all the suckers going? I don't know.
Kevin's like, wasn't me.
Sticks through the whole garage. bite them and throw it down.
You're just leaving them. There's a trail all the way back. They didn't have to guess.
The other memory I had was with Mike, was his mom. I'd go over there. It'd be like every time we'd go, it'd almost be like I'd wait for him to come outside. I'd be that little boy looking out the window, just like, where's my friends? Where's my friends? Then finally they'd come outside. But I just remember this one particular time we were actually in the house and Mike's mom just starts ripping on him because he hadn't brushed his teeth. And I'm just like, she's like, they're yellow. She's screaming at him. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm over here like turning away, like with my finger trying to scrub mine because I didn't brush my teeth either. I was so scared that she was going to just rip me a new one too. But thankfully she didn't say nothing to me. So mine must have been somewhat clean. But she said he had the most yellow teeth she'd ever seen in her life and just screaming at him. And I was really scared that day.
Story
he's never missed a teeth brushing day since then.
Do you remember when she caught us up on your roof? We were like, I think we were 5 or 6 years old, and we were throwing tennis balls down the chimney on the roof of his house.
I still remember sitting on the front of it going, if I jump, she won't know I was up here. And I couldn't get the courage to make the jump. So I remember with my head down, going back on the other side. And
didn't we used to get on your roof too, Kevin, and jump in the pool?
Yes, you did. I was scared. But yeah, it started from, because the step down deck. First you started jumping from the railing, but that wasn't fun enough for you, I guess.
So we went from the roof?
Yep. You'd hop from the deck over to that little porch type deal for up to the garage, get on the garage, and then run and jump in. It was never too cold. Never too cold. It's like, it's too cold. Mike said, no, not too cold. So guess what your father did? Any guesses? Yes, that's right. Just jump right in.
We were literally just talking about this the other day with sprinklers outside. My kids were playing in sprinklers and they were freezing to death because it's cold, And I was like, it just used to be a normal thing. Like when my grandparents had a pool and it was just like, you get there and it'd be like 73 degrees and you'd be like pumped. You're like, yes, this thing is smoking hot. And now that we swim, the pool's 90 degrees. My kids are out there in the sprinkler complaining about how cold it is and be like, this is all we used to do. Like literally this was it. This was the peak of summer, was this sprinkler. And now it's not enough. It's never enough. So it's kind of funny. But I get it. It's never too cold. Sorry to interrupt the podcast, but we want to have a special episode for episode 25, and we want to do Q&A. So if you have questions, send them to podcast@wensco.com. If you send them to that email, I'll get them. We'll go through them on the air. If it's anybody that's been on the podcast, any of my brothers, anyone you've seen, Domingo, Mike, anybody like that, welcome to send them in. If it's to somebody you even haven't seen on the podcast yet, but you have questions for them, we'll bring them on to answer your questions. So send them in. Again, podcast@wensco.com. You can also send them out on socials, or if you know if it's anywhere, if you have our phone numbers, emails, send them. I don't care where you send them as long as they get to me, and we'll be happy to answer them live, potentially live, on episode 25. So send in your questions. Again, podcast@wensco.com. And now we'll get back to the episode.
So I can say some other stories. There's one that Kevin does not want me to say, which I probably won't say. But you guys ask me in person, I'll let you know the highlight of my childhood. But I'll tell you later about it. Some other funny stories. I remember Steve and I had a paper route, or Steve had a paper route I used to help him with. And and that was back in the advanced days where you had to put the inserts in. And there was times where they'd just give us way too many inserts. So we'd shovel them under the deck and deliver the paper. So there may have been times, a lot of times, that we didn't put all the inserts in.
Or we'd overload them so they wouldn't have to do as many.
Yeah. Or yeah, instead of having put in one of like the JCPenney ads, we'd put like five, and then about halfway through, all of a sudden, hey, we're out of inserts.
Yeah.
Don't have to put any more in.
It's not our fault.
So yeah, if you lived on South Union or in the townhouses and you used to get 5 JCPenney ads and your neighbor got 0, that was Steve's fault.
Those people are probably mad because that's when they used to send coupons in the mail. So then people were actually looking forward to them. They were getting just newspapers and they were all disappointed. They didn't actually want the newspaper. They just wanted the coupons.
It's true.
You did very well getting the papers there, because I would have known my dad. Oh my goodness. Do not forget to deliver a paper that he's supposed to get. Holy cow.
We always did it on time, didn't we? We always delivered. I think it was every Wednesday you had to go deliver.
Yep, it was.
And even that day, remember the time it flooded? We even delivered in the flood. Like we were walking through knee-deep water, but we're getting people their paper.
The flood.
It was like,
remember your basement
No,
flooded?
I know what you're talking about.
he didn't have a growth spurt until later in life. So when he says knee high, it was 4
He's
inches
not
of
kidding.
water.
What were you,
You're not
5'8"
kidding
when you
about that.
graduated?
That's what I was just thinking about, too.
It was curb height water.
You should have seen Mike back in the day. He was a little runt. Let's just say, if he even looked at me funny, I could like flick him with my finger and he'd fall to the ground. I'm not so sure I'd do anything like that these days, but he really did. Let's just say he got a little bigger in his day here. So
He was never scared when he was that little, though.
he had a big
He'd
heart.
just keep going.
He had a big heart. I'll give you that.
I don't know, but big heart. He's really good at antagonizing people. I remember that.
Yeah, when he said big heart, they weren't talking about compassion. That wasn't the verb that we were using.
Tyler, come on. You're not going to be allowed back on these either.
I'm just a spectator here.
So the other story I want to tell about was when Kevin put his head through the window. If you remember that correctly, we used to play this like hide and seek tag game, and for some reason, Kevin thought he put his head right through the
reason.
Right through the garage window, and then you'd have to know his mom to know, like, oh, honey, oh, come here. But the funny thing is she's yelling, oh, honey, come here, and you're bleeding. She came out and hugged me first. Why'd she have to hug
you getting
me?
yelled at for putting a dirty oil rag.
Yeah, but I still got a hug from your mom. She said everything's gonna be okay, and then she went over to see if you were all right.
I remember her yelling a lot. I remember that at everybody.
Yeah, she always gave me a hug, though. I couldn't understand why. Every time I go over there, she had to hug me.
You're the same height as her. I don't know. She felt closer to you.
Oh. The other thing is, we
were older when that happened.
I do still have a scar on my forehead right here.
Good.
From you.
Oh, really? How'd that happen?
You ran me straight into a bird bath and split me wide open right across my forehead.
Doesn't matter how fast you are if you know angles in football.
Do you remember we used to play there all the time with Bruce Elway?
Yeah. Bird bath was the MVP of that game, wasn't it?
Yes.
There was no stitches back then either.
I cried then.
Him and his dad came down. He was crying and
I felt bad.
You had to go over and apologize.
Oh, I was probably getting in trouble for getting blood on my shirt, so.
Didn't get no blood on me.
So what other?
I felt terrible. My dad, you want to go down there? And it's like, yeah.
It pushed me there on purpose. It was nonsense.
It could have gone anywhere. It was intentionally to the bird.
Statutes of limitations is way past.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there maybe subconsciously or consciously.
And there's not a single person that knows him that's not arguing that he deserved it. So
yeah.
Tyler.
He was smaller then. That was still when... you don't have any pictures on your phone, do you?
No.
Kevin's getting called. He didn't silence his phone.
Jeez.
It's a new guy.
Unbelievable.
It's like his first time he's been on a podcast or something.
So for the younger group out there that's listening, this was back in the day when we had to, like, in order for me to find Steve, I had to go knock on his door. Hey, can Steve come out and play? And that's back in that day where we're like, we weren't allowed in the house. Like, you got out of the house at 9 or 8 and you were not allowed back in the house, maybe for lunch. But until that light came on at night, like your porch light came on, man, you didn't go back inside. Like, you weren't allowed inside. You needed a drink it from the hose. So, but I do remember Steve and I we used to go try to get cans. So we'd go to Eberhard's and get one Mountain Dew. We'd split that sucker. And then we'd sit in your dad had that car in the back. We'd sit there and smoke the rest of those cigarettes. We were like 10 years old and then have our Mountain Dew.
No, not me.
Your mom and dad might listen to this too. He's going to remember that car. It was like a Monte Carlo or something. What was the back there? I can't remember.
He was wondering why it still
before the
smelled.
two-stall
the smell
garage.
was never going away.
Yeah. That was the green shed. I remember that.
Yep.
Is it long gone?
It's gone. He put a new shed back there, though. My mom and dad still live there, so
That's crazy.
they're still holding down the South End Union.
Yeah.
So, They did open up that road, so it is a little different now.
So we grew up at the end of a dead end road with the high school right on the other side of the road, and they opened that road up now, and I only live a few hundred yards from it.
Yeah, I still drive by where that fence was before.
Yeah.
The whole area is different now too, so it's kind of weird.
And we learned to ride bikes. We could ride good bikes because we could drive through that fence because it had like an angle and an angle without touching our feet down. Like, you got good on your bike so you didn't have to stop and push it through. Like
this will be relatable to the people that already listened to some of the other episodes, but it's funny that they opened that fence so that you could drive through, and then General Formulations closed the rest of the road. So it had one dead end, and then they opened it, and then General Formulations put in another dead end on the same road. So at one point it was open, and then it was closed again through traffic. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Who knows what kind of trouble we'd have gotten if we could have been free through that road too. But we used to race a lot from the top of the road all the way down. We used to race our bikes all the time.
Probably better. There was less traffic, so.
The finish line was I'm pretty sure was my mailbox. So that gave us enough time to slow down before you got to
just enough.
Yeah, just enough time. So, man, I tell you what, we flew down that hill. I think about these days, man, if we would have ever really wiped it, how bad we would have really got messed up.
Yeah.
Well, with the handbrakes, we were able to slow down. Remember before when you have to hit backwards and the chain popped off? It's like, uh-oh. I went through a lot of shoes. Your dad did wear shoes then.
Just to ride his bike.
Yeah. I mean, for a few summers in a row, we used to play the game where like everybody get on a bike. These are the boundaries. And the last person to touch their foot down won. So you'd be ramming each other with our bikes and until you knock somebody down. And
we would just play chicken on our bikes. Mike was always a daredevil. I would say out of all of us, he took the most chances. And I'm stubborn. So do you remember it was close? I think it might have been on the other side, the high school side. And we just took our bikes. It's like, I'm not moving. And we went head on, flipped over. The bars are all bent. And then we couldn't get them back up. And then we're trying to ride our bikes home without moving the handlebars. It's like, oh, we can do this. And then we just couldn't get out of our head. Your bars don't need to be straight. Your wheel does. So we'd be going, and then it's like, fall over. Mike would ram the tractor road gate or chain. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember flipping over on that tractor road gate.
Yeah.
And why was it ever called the tractor road?
I don't know. We never seen a tractor on it.
I don't think we ever saw a tractor on it. We called it the tractor road. It's still the tractor road to this day.
Yeah.
And why is it even a road there? So that was
emergency vehicles. Remember the ambulances?
But they don't even have that was 40 years ago that road was there, and it's still there. Never been repaved. Never been traffic for anything, but it's still sitting there.
And still
with chains on each end.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
We always thought it was a treat when the chains were down. It's like, we didn't do it. Let's go. Take our little bikes.
That's funny. Well, I mean, like I said, the whole reason for this episode is just so you guys get an idea of other people that work here at Wensco. So we've talked about Steve before, and we've might have talked about Kevin. Probably Steve more than Kevin, though, because we like him more. So, but just getting the idea of some of the people that work here, kind of where they came from. I think hearing Steve's story is super similar to the ones we've already talked about, where a lot of us here have started, in the warehouse or doing deliveries and then have worked our way up. So it seems like we do a decent job of at least promoting from within until we hired Kevin just off the street from the cable company too. So we hired him because he knew how to handle bad phone calls. That's the whole reason we brought him on. We figured he had lots of experience in people being pissed off and calling.
Customer service experience.
So if you call and you have an issue, we're just going to forward you to Kevin. So you're going to get to hear, you hear him on this podcast when he answers the phone and you hear it's Kevin, and he sounds completely different on the phone. I don't know if
my customer service voice.
Yeah,
can
you give us an example of your customer service voice?
I can't.
Hello?
I need to be in the moment.
This is Kevin.
What? It does not go up an octave. You're ridiculous.
That was pretty close.
No,
that was
not.
pretty close.
So, anyways,
It just
so if you
happens.
get him and it's his size Kevin, but it doesn't sound like Kevin, I promise you it's Kevin. It's just he sounds a little different on the phone for some reason.
So growing up, we called him Reverend because he was always trying to make peace with everybody. Like everybody's like, oh, it's peaceful. Like, oh, I'm the Reverend.
That makes sense why you would go to work for the cable company then.
So then that's why I thought, oh yeah, they're not gonna razzle the Reverend. Just gonna calm everything down.
It's actually a great idea. We're gonna start forwarding all bad calls just to Kevin.
You know what happens when Steve gets a bad call? What happens, Steve? You pull over the side of the road and cry, don't you?
Wear my heart out of my shoulder. For all my customers listen, I care. Sorry. I care a lot, actually.
Do you want to call anybody out that's made you cry, Steve?
I did have one. Decal Freaks, Julie, one day. She called and, she gave me a pretty good one. And it really wasn't my fault. It was more on the tech side again. But this was before Kevin in his defense. But she had some issues with the tech, and she was really giving in to me. And so I like to bring it up to her too, that she's like one of the ones that made me really cry. So I kind of started to doubt what I was doing a little bit when after talking with her a little bit. So, but it all worked out. Here I am. So still smiling, having a good time.
So if you're one of our customers, or if you're in northern Michigan and aren't one of our customers, I would honestly be kind of surprised, to be fair. But if you are and you haven't talked to your rep, you should call Steve. But if you have problems, call Kevin. I'll give you his personal cell phone number, both his work one and his other one. So just in case you can't get a hold of him. So
I wasn't sure you had me saved. My personal number saved, because I've texted
I have you
numerous times.
I have you in as Ryan Luke.
I just get ghosted.
So I do the same thing. So
I only have to call him when we need a security text code, and it's still set as Ryan's old phone number. We got to get Kevin to do it.
So I do the same thing around the entire shop. If someone quits or they get fired or whatever, and we pass their phone on, I never change the name. So I have some people in my phone that haven't worked for 10 years. Like
it's gone through 3 employees. What was the last one I saw? I can't remember.
Eric Wilson.
Yes, there we go.
Who now works for Roland. And his phone went from him to John Himes to for somebody else. It's changed hand 4 times. I still have him as Eric Wilson. So when they call him, like, I got to remember whose that is.
It's Mike DeGeeter's phone number now, isn't it?
It's DeGeeter's phone number now.
He gets the call.
It says Eric Wilson.
Yeah, it says Eric Wilson Wensco on the bottom. I thought, what? I was like, whoever this is. I was like, I don't even know who this is. Like, that's got to be a pretty old. He's like, oh yeah, it's been like 3 people now already that have gone through this phone number.
It's one of the quirks that I do. But I also never call Kevin on his work phone. I always call him on his regular phone. His personal phone. That way he knows it's me.
Yeah, it's more obvious. Yeah.
I give him personal ringtones. Not bad ones.
You have the
I've got DJ Khaled one. All I do is win, win, win.
Oh, I figured you had the Sith music from Star Wars.
It started out with Ricky Bobby and his speech. I'm just a big hairy American winning machine. All I do is piss excellence.
That's pretty funny. Well, is there anything else you guys want to add about the South Union gang?
There's more members of us, but they don't work here. I mean, we had a good gang. We were people to be reckoned with.
It's weird that you guys were all like the same age. There's a lot of you.
Yeah, all less than a month apart, all 3 of us.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mike.
I'm the oldest.
Yeah.
10 days.
10 days. Then, looks like it.
10 days and then 9 days? Did you say looks like it?
Yeah.
Yes, me and Steve both have glasses stapled to our shirts.
Yeah, you can. I was like, can you see them? He was wearing them before we started. There wasn't even anything to read. I have no idea why he had them on.
Makes him look studious.
Just in case I had something to read.
It doesn't, though. He was trying to read the calories on the Red Bull can. He couldn't figure it out.
So, I guess one last thing.
Yeah, talk in your microphone.
I'm talking in... I don't know what to do with my hands. No. So again, statute of limitations. There might have been a few people. Terrorized is not a good word, but we may have been mischievous, and I apologize for the fireworks that may or may not have gone off on Clark Street, South Union, various spots. Mike is fast. I'm not sure if you remember. And again, statute of limitations. 2 individuals in this room may have, we'll say, eluded certain individuals of the Sparta first responder community.
That was the night
lighting things off.
That was the night Mr. Spangenberg found out I'm a lot faster than him.
Yeah.
Or Officer Spangenberg.
Yeah.
Allegedly,
I was a lot faster than him.
allegedly, somebody was faster than him.
Being older, I do feel bad disturbing the sleep of some neighbors. They had to know who had done it. We'd stay in the tent. Oh, they're staying in the tent. It's like, oh, not getting any sleep tonight.
I always wanted to go to sleep. Kevin was always like, hey, let's go do something.
Yeah, that's how it went down.
I believe it. I believe it. We all know it to be true. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. I know you got a lot of heads up. What, like 12 hours?
Yeah.
That's a
3:30 yesterday.
You might see a
With you
theme
being
here.
late, we actually got a little more time. So
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Yeah, we're going to do this
I
at
didn't get here
9.
till
Hey, don't get
8:30.
me started on Enterprise again, okay? All I have to say is if you have an option besides Enterprise, try it. Don't count on them to pick you up. So
We'll get you there eventually.
yeah, eventually
It's kind of like our tech service, isn't it?
Is that nice?
Oh, sorry.
you'll get service. We'll pick it
I
up.
didn't say it's not true at times, but we're getting better, right?
For sure.
So if you have problems with tech, I'll give you Kevin's phone number. Just comment on this video.
No,
But-
call me.
Seriously, guys, thanks for
I'll
coming.
make it better.
thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Nope.
Do you feel like professional podcasters now that you've done
Oh.
this episode?
Yeah, I'd love to do this a lot more.
I won't watch it. I don't want to see myself. It's like the opening comments, probably a train wreck. Steve is very good. Usually I get him when his passion is out and he wants to discuss something with me. So it was very nice to see him at his craft. Does very well speaking.
He's a professional
I thought it
sales
was
guy.
very
Professional sales guy.
Yeah.
Can't believe anything he says anymore.
Yeah.
I'll be empathetic and get your problem solved eventually.
Eventually, we'll do it.
Hey, we'll figure it out.
It's true.
We'll get it done.
Well, thanks for listening, guys. Hopefully you learned some more about some people that work here at Wensco. Like I said, the next episode is live, hopefully, if we get all of our ducks in a row. And
You're not going to want to miss it. I'm telling you right now, you do not want to miss the live episode. There's a big announcement.
we got some stuff coming, so
Big
we
announcement.
might have been talking about it for like a while now, but it might be here hopefully by next week if all the stars align. Then we'll be talking about it next week. So, but thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for coming. We appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Big announcement next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.